Today on Homeworthy, we're visiting the bright and playful London home of interior designer Laura Stevens. In true English fashion, she has combined chintz, florals, and stripes throughout the rooms in a way that feels simultaneously sophisticated and relaxed. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. By clicking the join button below, you not only support the production of these episodes, you also gain access to exclusive content just for members. And today you'll get a look into the darling bathroom perfect for Laura's 3 daughters, complete with checkerboard floors and a pink tub. So join today to see more of the homes you love.
Hi Homeworthy, my name is Laura Stevens and welcome to my London home. Come in. So this is a reception room at the front of the house, and I wanted to really create quite a formal but really comfortable aesthetic in this room. And the colour of the walls is super important to me because I painted it when I first came here, and it was kind of like a pearly grey, and it was just really cold. So a few years ago I painted it in this lovely kind of warm stone colour, which is called Clay by Little Green. And then it really sets off colour really well against it. So we have this vintage yellow linen on these chairs, and I was really mindful of just trying to warm everything up and make it feel really layered. And there's a lot of pattern going on in the room. I have all these cushions on the sofa which are set against this stripe, and I really feel like stripe is almost like a neutral, so yeah, I love a stripe, and the pattern works really well against it. It doesn't clash. This is Lulu, she's trying to get involved here. I wanted to create some symmetry as well because I wanted to it really helps to add to that sense of formality. So it's a really nice layout, and the square aspect of this room really allowed me to set it up like a really formal reception room. So we've got a sofa, we've got 2 armchairs facing, it's really convivial, and it's all set around the fireplace. And the fireplace is original. We were really lucky that was there. The cornicing, I think, is a replacement of the original. It was here when we came in, but we're just so lucky with the proportions of this house because the ceilings are really tall and it's got a really grand feeling to it, and I wanted to really engage with that without making it feel like that we're living in a Jane Austen period drama, because I live here with my 3 children and my dog. So it's all about kind of celebrating the grandeur of the house, but being a really comfortable, practical family home. I'm not precious about it at all. As you can see, the dog is everywhere, even though I swore she would never go on any sofas. Obviously, gave up on that after about a week. But the symmetry again is reflected here in the windows. So we've got these really pretty lamps with big shades, and then I love a chintzy fabric, but my husband was like, not too much flower, so I chose this chintzy but quite sort of soft and subtle fabric from Colfax and Fowler for the drapes. And the rest of the items I've really just picked up over the years. I love collecting artwork. I had this really cute plate made of Lulu, which I love. That's one of my favourite things in the room, and that's by a ceramicist called Rabina Jack. And yeah, the rest of the items are just stuff that I've built up over the years, really. It's a lot. I have a lot of copied books, and my husband literally can't believe that I use them, but I really do, because I find interior design books and historical books really inspiring, and I try to look to them instead of kind of Instagram for inspiration, because they really celebrate the tradition of decorating. A lot of these are from all around the world. A lot of them are kind of British traditional style, but I also have, like, there's a book here on Italian architecture, on Australian homes. So yeah, I do really use them, but I have quite a collection. The coffee table is groaning, and I think I might have to do an edit before I get any more. But yeah, they're a great form of inspiration for my work. The lighting in this room, it was really important to create a really warm kind of layered approach. There was a central pendant when we moved in, which I actually removed. I think central pendants can look beautiful for decoration, but in here I knew I'd never have it on, and I just wanted to really focus the lighting on wall lights and lights over the pictures and lamps. I think lighting is probably, next to fabric and pattern, my favourite aspect of design. So yeah, I've got some really pretty wall lights with these kind of shell backgrounds, and I had these shades made, again, little pop of yellow to pick up on the yellow that you can see sort of throughout the room. I get a lot of my lamps from eBay. This is an Italian, over here, it's an Italian, quite interesting lamp, and for me, the kind of more crazy and quirky the lamp, the better. I think it's a really nice way of bringing personality to a scheme. And I love the softness of pleated lampshades. I use them a lot, even in the kitchen, throughout the house, because they just create a really kind of soft, warm glow. The lampshades here on these lamps are from Fermoy, and again, I've used their lampshades a lot. They're just beautiful and soft and have a really lovely diffused light which come through. I think in terms of mixing patterns together, that's something which I get asked about a lot, and there aren't really any hard and fast rules, because I have some quite different patterns in here. I think here we've got a really similar print but in different colours, for example, so that works really well. Any floral with a stripe, and you'll see this repeated throughout the house, I just think is a great combination, because it just offsets the kind of floral frilly aspect. So again, I've got a stripe here, but also I like mixing different size prints. So if you have a large print on, say, your drapes, you could do much smaller print on cushions. So yes, it is instinctual, but I wouldn't go for, like, say, two same size, really similar prints. I like to mix them, and that really helps with a sense of layering as well in a room. But yeah, you'll see a lot of stripe and floral, because you just can't really go wrong. And actually this cushion is a stripe with a floral, and yeah, I just love these tassels, which again you'll see throughout the house. So let's go into the snug, which is through here. Come with me. So welcome to our snug. This has gone from when we first moved in, it was the least used room in the house, and now I think, aside from the kitchen, it's the most used room in the house. It was a playroom, and my kids are now 18, 15 and 10, so I knew it wasn't going to be a playroom as such, but I wanted it to be a family space. It used to have a big chimney breast in the middle, which kind of changed the proportions and made it a bit awkward. So we removed the chimney breast totally and put in these two big steel beams. But this room is just blessed with such high ceilings. I knew that that wouldn't really be an issue, and you would barely notice them, because yeah, they're just crazily high ceilings. I think the ceilings are the highest in the whole house. And I replaced the chimney breast with this enormous built-in unit. I wanted to create a focal point. There's no fireplace or natural focal point in this room. I knew it wanted to be a TV room, and I mean, there are lots of very clever ways to hide TVs, but sometimes I just think, you know, we're a family, we watch TV, let's just own it and put it in a lovely piece of joinery. And they've painted this, I'm not sure if you can capture it on camera, but it's like a lovely gloss blue, and the gloss kind of bounces the light around the room. It's quite a dark room. So that's why I chose the gloss, just to add a bit of reflection and light. Yeah, the drapes are really tall in here, and I chose this lovely kind of soft lemon yellow. I just wanted this room to feel really easy to be in, and I did play with going like really dark and cozy, which I might do at some point, but I just wanted it to feel just really relaxing, and just very informal. And to that end, on this wall at the back, we have this like collection of artwork which we've built up over kind of 20 years. A lot of this artwork was in our previous home, and because it was a lot smaller, our previous homes, there was a lot of little pieces which just seemed to be lost on the walls of this house. So I decided to collate everything, and I've got everything here from like kids' pictures to some really lovely artists to plates which I've collected on eBay, and some photographs, but it just adds to the informality and kind of relaxed aspect of this room. And then the sofa fits all of us pretty much. It's quite rare these days that we're all in one place, because I have teenagers who are all over the place. But yeah, it's just a really, really nice place to relax. This room we tend to entertain either in the kitchen and dining room or in the reception room. I think because, I think probably the way this is laid out really lends itself to kind of lounging around and watching TV. So this room is really reserved for sort of hanging out, really. Let's go to the next room, I think. So I'm going to show you my little powder room, or WC as we call it. And this house really lacked a downstairs toilet. It's a big house, and when we did the major part of the renovation of this house, which was about 6 years ago, we knew we wanted to install a downstairs toilet. And I just really didn't want to have a little tiny pokey downstairs loo. We've got the space to make it quite big. And I had this wallpaper in mind I always wanted to use in this kind of space, and it's called Strawberries by Cole & Son, and it's just so pretty. And we added some panelling at the bottom just to make it practical, and so it just gets a little less wear and tear. The ceiling is painted green, and I just wanted it to feel really all-encompassing, this room. If it had been white, it would have been a really different experience. There's a stripy blind again with a pink trim, and this offsets the kind of floral pattern. And I think probably the sink is one of my favourite things in the house. It was a bit of a splurge, but I just love it, and every day I appreciate it. So this is our kitchen diner, and this is where we carried out the most work in the house. And what I fell in love with about this house when we saw it 10 years ago was the stained glass and this really unusual bay configuration of the doors at the back. The only issue with this room was that the side of the house wasn't here, so we installed that glazed roof pitched glass that you can see, and actually this room finished here where the steel was, so it was a great space, but it was really long and narrow and really dark. So we decided to insert the steel and extend this glazing outwards, and it's just really served to flood the whole room with light, and the sun is coming through to really show you what we mean. And I wanted it to feel really natural. I didn't want it to feel like an addition. I wanted to yeah, really have it in keeping with the nature of the house. And the original cornicing was here when we came, and I wanted it to feel almost like an orangery, like a really traditional conservatory. So instead of kind of doing big glazed walls, we added these big windows, these sash traditional windows. And yeah, I'm really happy with it because it's very hard with London kitchen extensions not to make them feel like super modern and contemporary. So having this timber frame glazing was really key to making sure that it was in keeping with the rest of the house. So yeah, so this has had a big transformation. The kitchen was at the back. We moved the kitchen along this wall here. I was really keen to have no wall units in this central space. I love decorative objects. We actually do use everything on the shelf, so it's not just for decoration. The bowls, the cups, the glasses, it's all a bit of a muddle, but it's just, I love it. It works, and because we use it, it kind of doesn't collect dust, and there aren't many places to have decorative items in kitchens, so it's really nice to have some open shelving. The colour of the units was actually inspired by the glazing. So that kind of sea green, seafoam green is one of my favourite colours. So yeah, we painted the kitchen in this. I just knew it would be timeless because it works so well, the original stained glass. And we added these super pretty little brass shell handles. They're from Armac Martin. And the other really important thing to talk about in the kitchen, I think, is the island. So the island is just literally like a table. I mean, it's got loads of storage in it, but it doesn't have a hob, it doesn't have a sink. And I really played with, like, should we put the sink here? But actually I wanted it to feel like a piece of furniture. So it's on raised legs, so you can see the floor go all the way through. And sometimes islands can feel really kind of chunky and blocky, and I wanted it to feel really elegant. And I wanted you to see the whole aspect of the room kind of through the island, which is why we raised it on the legs. So the kids often have their breakfast here, but it's just a great prep space. And it also means you don't have your sink with all your washing up and old pans and things on, so it's just kind of clean. And yeah, I just love it. We've got quartz on the top because I wasn't allowed marble. The one thing my family were like, you can't have marble, but in my next incarnation, I will have marble. But it's a pretty good, it's a pretty good replacement for marble. It's like a quartz, and it's really durable. And I had this OG edge put on the island as well because I thought that it made it feel a little bit more like a piece of furniture, and that contrasts with the edge, which is a clean square edge on the kitchen. Because again, we are blessed with really tall ceilings in this kitchen, I didn't want to have any spotlights, and that was quite contentious again with my husband at the time because he's a big cook. He was really worried about not having enough light. So we did a range of different lighting. There was no ceiling lights, spotlights at all. We've got these 3 pendants which give you really good task lighting over the island, and then I've got these wall sconces with long arms, and they give you task lighting over the island. But really importantly, I think in kitchens people forget about the low level lighting. So over in the corner here I have this quite unusual decorative really large lamp. We have that on all the time. It's lovely for evenings, it's lovely when you're eating your evening meal. I've also got another table lamp over here in the corner, and in fact I've got another lamp. I've got a lot of lamps in here. I've got this really cute little vintage lamp on the shelf, but it really means you do not miss those spotlights. And in some kitchens where the ceiling is lower, you can't get away from them and you need them. But yeah, I just knew that we could get away with all these different layers of lighting, which is just much softer and warmer, but actually really practical as well in terms of task lighting. So my husband was worried he'd have to kind of make dinner with a head torch, but that's definitely not necessary. Okay, so this, I created this little kind of inbuilt sofa. I wanted somewhere where the family could kind of sit and chat. I was going to do an actual sofa here originally, and then when I saw the space, I thought it might lend itself better to something that was built in. And I did this. Scallops seem to be everywhere now, but I did do this about 6 years ago, and I can't quite remember where I saw the concept, but I just loved it and I wanted to make it just an interesting, pretty kind of vignette from this side of the kitchen. So yeah, I mean, people lie in here, teenagers lie in here with a hangover. We sit here with a coffee and our breakfast, and it's a really nice aspect because you can see the island, you can see out to the garden. The dog sits here. It's very well used and a nice kind of, I love bringing some soft additions to kitchens with so many hard surfaces. So it was a nice opportunity to bring in some colour and fabric. And this is one of my favourite paintings in the house. It's really kind of whimsical. It's from an online store called Arty, and the colours of the circus kind of go so well in the room. So I'm an interior designer, and I think when it comes to designing your home, it can be quite tricky. As an interior designer, I can walk into lots of different places and immediately see where I think the property should go, or develop the aesthetic of the client. But because we see so many beautiful things, sometimes it's quite hard to actually hone in on your own specific style. But I think we have quite a chaotic family life, and while I love colour and pattern, I wanted it to be done in quite a sympathetic, calming way for this house. So while there are lots of different colours you'll see throughout the home, they're often quite muted and soft. Sometimes the colour is brought through artwork, but yeah, I'm always thinking about how I could change things, obviously, and I may well change things up, but I think I wanted a continuity of a colour palette, which is really inspired by the original house, so the stained glass, but also the garden. And I can show you the garden now because the palette there is just so pretty and soft and green, and so many of the colours from the garden come through to the house. This is our garden, which is actually quite a good size for a London garden. We're really, really lucky. We rebuilt the wall at the back, but otherwise it's more or less kind of how we found it. We did some planting when we first arrived a few years ago, and I really wanted it to feel like a really kind of country garden in the city, so lots of roses. It's a really summer garden. Green, lots of different shades of green, and there's lots of layers to it. So there's trees, tall trees, smaller trees. It's a work in progress. It's not finished. But I love going to antique fairs, so I'm always collecting like these kind of French tables. So over here is one of mine. I mean, it's really kind of rusty, but I love it, and I put all my pots there. So yeah, it's one of my favourite things, is kind of just being in the garden. I feel like it's not work to me, whereas sometimes I feel, because I'm in interiors all the time, doing stuff in the house can feel an extension of that. But I really find being in the garden just really calming, and it's a lovely kind of mindful place for me to be. I love it. So yes, a lot of the colours inside the house I wanted to really marry with the colours in the garden. Okay, so welcome to our bedroom. This is the principal bedroom in the house, and it's not the largest bedroom, but it is the most peaceful because it overlooks the garden. So I knew I wanted this to be our bedroom. It's really light. it's just got a really lovely view onto all the back gardens of our road, which I love having a nosy in. And we did quite a lot of work to this room. We installed these wardrobes, which are actually supposed to be for both of us, but ended up just being for me. My husband has his stuff in the spare room. And I lined them with this pretty fabric because I find that just helps to stop that kind of blocky feel that these big built-in wardrobes could have. I want it just to look sort of pretty and soft. The fireplace was here originally, so again, we were really lucky to have that. And this fabric on the curtains was really key to the scheme, and it's one of my favourite prints. It's from GP&J Baker, and actually I found it on eBay as a remnant, and unfortunately, fortunately, I didn't quite have enough. So I decided to kind of top and tail it with this pink velvet at the top and the bottom, which is actually a really sweet feature, and it has this kind of grand tassels from Samuel & Sons. But yeah, this is just such a sort of typical traditional print, and it's an unusual colourway. I just love the kind of soft pinks and greens and the birds. And then I knew I wanted wallpaper in here, but I knew it also needed to be calming for a bedroom. So we have this like really subtle pinstripe wallpaper from Colfax and Fowler that sits really nicely against the curtains. This is a really nice place to sit and contemplate life, looking over the garden. It's this little mid-century sofa which I picked up for, about £50 I think in an antiques fair quite a few years ago. And then finally my dressing table is over here. It has this really oversized, kind of quite glamorous mirror from Julian Chichester, and again that just reflects the garden, so that's really nice to see that when you're sitting there. And it's got an interesting shape. This is a bit of a crazy lamp. It's kind of like a Regency Hollywood lamp, which I got on eBay I think for about 20 quid. And yeah, it's just a really peaceful, calm haven away from the kids, and we can go and see the ensuite next door because that's kind of in the space, which is really nice because it means that the girls can't use it. So we can go and have a look at that now. This is our ensuite bathroom. There wasn't room for a bath, so to compensate for that, we did a really big, generous walk-in shower. And this lovely vanity, which isn't antique, but it's got the feeling of a kind of French Parisian vanity. We used unlacquered brass, which from Water Monopoly, which is I've tried to use throughout the house. It really develops this lovely aged patina, which I think this gets better with age. And I don't really, I clean it, but I don't clean it until it's shiny because I just love the patination on it. The tiling's quite interesting. The tiler was, very, very patient, but I wanted it to have this almost like a 1940s European kind of feel in here. I want it to be tiled from top to bottom, and it has this pencil tile across the top and a dado, and it also has a skirting, and then the checkerboard floor kind of gives it quite a glamorous feel, and then the shape of the mirrors is quite kind of Art Deco. The mirrors are from an English company called Vaughan. And it's a real sanctuary, actually, this bathroom. I absolutely love it. So the bathroom is the original size. It had like a cubicle in, which I wanted to remove. So I wanted it to feel more open. So it felt like it didn't feel as spacious as this. So we actually built, instead of a built-in cubicle, we built this half wall, which is really successful in terms of creating a shower space, but keeping the sense of space and size. It's just much more aesthetically pleasing than kind of lots of doors of glass. So if you come upstairs, the first of the bedrooms to show you is my youngest daughter's room. So come in. So this is my youngest daughter Sky's bedroom, and we worked on this together, this room. She is an interior designer in the make, and she was really keen to be involved. So to give her an element of choice, and I often do this with my young clients, is it's really important they feel involved and they're making decisions, but I try to give them edited options. So I was actually really pleasantly surprised that she chose this wallpaper, which is a William Morris design called Daisy, which is the name of one of my other daughters. But it's just really classic, and I love that blue and white colour scheme. And we really took that and ran with it. So we did the stripy blind, and again another stripe and floral, and it has a really pretty little bead trim. We did obviously lots of blue and white cushions, and the paintwork is all in this kind of like a Wedgwood blue, which is really nice. The wardrobe is again in this sort of Wedgwood blue and has lovely kind of white trim. And again, I've added fabric to the back of the doors just to bring in some softness. And the same fabric is on this really cute little lamp, which is from Anthropology, and we had this lampshade made for it. And in fact, this is quite interesting, this section of the room, because she's only 10 and I knew that she would be growing into, she'd want some kind of dressing area. So there wasn't room for it because of the radiator. So I decided to build this kind of shelf, which almost like a console with a mirror on it. So when she's older, she can use this as her dressing table. But other pieces in the room which are quite important. So we did bring in some yellow to kind of throw in there with the blue and white, and make it feel kind of youthful and fun. This is a piece we found on eBay and I had painted. And then very importantly, her bed, which is quite a thing. We had this lovely canopy made because she is only 10. This will be really easy to take down when she's older, but she loves it, and she loves kind of going in and feeling really cozy and enclosed. And it's got this beaded trim on it again. She's probably got the best bed in the house, actually. It's the most comfortable, and she actually does make it like this every day with every pillow. I can't imagine where she gets that from. So we've got, oh my goodness, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fireplaces in the house. So this isn't a working fireplace, but this is a really particularly pretty fireplace actually. When we bought the house, the original tiles were really cracked and sort of falling apart. So we did actually replace the tiles on the hearth and on the sides. But yeah, the fireplace is original, and we're just really lucky because it does really give the room so much personality and character. And a really nice focal point as well. This is my middle daughter's bedroom, Tessa's room, and we're right at the top of the house here. So it's very peaceful. It's really, really high. So you have this like amazing view of all the gardens down below. Because this was an addition, this is a loft room that was added on, it doesn't have a fireplace, it doesn't have the kind of natural character, so we needed to add it. So we added it through the wallpaper, and actually again she chose this. She was very specific, yeah, she luckily chose this really soft, subtle floral print, and this is from Colfax and Fowler. And actually we recently did a makeover because she inherited this iron bed, and while I love the traditional look of iron beds, they're actually really uncomfortable to sit up, so to sit up against. So we had this headboard made and kind of tied on, which is a really kind of budget friendly way of making it sort of soft and usable. And then we also did this matching valance, and underneath here there's, oh, all her socks and storage you can see down there. And this really pretty quilt we added as well. And she's a big kind of sewer and collector, so we added a bookshelf for all her bits and pieces, and this really pretty vanity, which actually is just from IKEA, but we found this really cute brass mirror on here, and it's just a really, she's quite a manic character, so I was quite surprised that she chose such a sort of soft, peaceful scheme. So yeah, I was really pleased with her choice. So no, this and the bathroom. So it's strange because there's lots of little steps in between. So there's 3 floors, but then in between each floor there are like steps leading up. So there's almost like mezzanines. So it's great because it really gives a sense of space. So nobody feels like they're kind of next door to each other. So my other daughter's room, in fact my husband's office, which we'll go to in a minute, is on the same floor, but it's so far apart and up these kind of mini stairs that you get this amazing sense of space, which is why we just loved the house, because it's just unusual in a Victorian house to really have that sense of space with the stairs and the width of the hallways as well. So yeah, we're really, really lucky to be here for sure. So we're still on the top floor here. And we had this like huge vast wall which I just wanted to do something with. It just ended up having loads of handprints on it when it was painted, so I decided to put this wallpaper, which is a vintage print from William Morris, and it just serves to give this hallway some identity. Hallways can be really tricky to decorate because they can just feel really transitional and there's no focal points. So I created one really with this wallpaper, and it's so good at hiding handprints and dirt. I mean, whereas before it was a bit of an issue. And we also, this was an antique mirror from our old house, and there wasn't really anywhere to put it, but actually it looks quite nice here, and again gives the hallway a focal point. So coming up to my husband's office. Come through here. So this is the smallest room in the house, but it is a lovely room. It's very, very light and bright. When my husband does work from home, this is where he works because it's right at the top of the house, away from the chaos. And we painted it. This is a colour I'd been wanting to use, and it felt like this was the right room to use it in. It's called Smoked Trout by Farrow and Ball, and it's this lovely kind of dusky terracotta pink. And because this is a small room, I just thought, let's just go for it. And although it's quite dark, it doesn't actually feel dark. And I found this desk, which again I had painted in my favourite colour. It's blessed with a really cute little fireplace in here. It's got a chair, but although this is primarily his office, I needed it to also act as a guest room. So in the corner I had made this, I guess it's a day bed. And it's quite clever because it looks like a kind of sofa. I had the headboard made in a fabric from Mulberry Home and had it kind of cut into the eaves. So it looks really purposeful with these bolsters either side. But it's actually like a day bed, so you can pull it out and it turns into a double bed. But when it's not used, it's just quite a nice place to read and escape from the madness. The rug on the floor is actually part of a collaboration which I recently launched with a company called Bombay Sprout, and I designed several rugs with them for a collection, and I named them after my daughters. So this is called the Tessa rug, and it's in this lovely like mustard and aubergine colourway, and it just sits really well in this room. It really adds another layer of colour and pattern and coziness. So the desk, I really struggled to find, I wanted it to be an antique, but I just couldn't find the right size. So I actually found it, it was bare wood, and it was from a company called Scrumble Goosey in the UK. I think they do ship internationally as well. But the nice thing about it is that you can have it painted any colour. So I actually got them to paint it with this kind of like Swedish antique detail with the blue line, and it just fitted perfectly in the space. It's actually a really generous sized desk. It's actually a really lovely place to work up here. I'm not quite sure why my office isn't up here because it's so nice and quiet. But yeah, it's a really lovely space to work. So what makes a house a home? I think the answer to that has to be the people in it. To make a beautiful house is one thing, but to really live in it and to have your own pieces and to make it feel personal to the people who live in it really make it a home.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.